So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. Today is Friday, March the 5th, 2021, and our calling number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. We'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. Welcome, Michael.
Well, thank you, dear heart, and welcome everybody. We are just absolutely honored and delighted that you're here to partake of this conversation and to advance your and our understanding, in particular, of first century Aramaic forgiveness. We've been reading from Why Is This Happening to Me Again, and we're through 7 chapters already. I guess this book isn't going to last us a year, but we'll find something to do next. And so we're in chapter 8. If you are following along in the book, it's on page 43. And we just finished talking to Richard about the evidential mind and the fact that the mind that most people think of as a mind, first of all, it really isn't a mind at all. It's just more like a computer function. You know, it looks like the computer thinks through things. You put in what's 2 plus 2 and it says 4, but it's actually a pre-programmed result, and the so-called body's mind is the same. It's just a replicate machine. It's a replicate device. And we've been talking to him about the fact that it only gives evidence as is allowed, and that the evidence that it gives, or evidence we give it permission to give us, you know, if I live in the world, you know, one of the examples we used in that last chapter was, I'm right, you're wrong, it's settled, why argue? Well, the only evidence my mind will be able to show me in any given situation is that I'm right and you're wrong. So what's to talk about? And of course, you get 2 people who live in I'm right, you're wrong, it's settled, why argue? And you've got a big argument going on because, of course, each one's seeing evidence when they think they're seeing facts. And so we're going to take the whole idea of projection there and take a look at how that projection works, and then look at the topic of the difference between projection and externalization. So we're in chapter 8, page 43. And on this page, there is a picture, just a little line drawing of a little house with some smoke coming out of the chimney. Front door and some steps, a window, roof structure, and that's about it. So we got a question, you know, we closed out, and the last chapter, chapter 7, and Richard asked a question about projection because I brought that topic up. So to answer his question about projection, more information on how the mind sets up what it sees was necessary. Once its reality is structured, the mind tends to see only in terms of its own contents and pre-programmed filters. And there's an interesting fact that they've done some experiments around, and that is that once a person's mind is made up about something, it takes far more energy to change the perceptual output of the mind than to see accurately in the first place. So the way they set up their experiments is they have some objects that are off in the distance so far you can hardly tell what they are. And they have test subjects, and you bring the object closer, 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 until their mind is able to generate a construct that, of course, appears to be about that object. So let's say it's the fact of the object is it's a refrigerator. And so it's off in the distance, and this person can't quite tell what it is, so they bring it closer, and finally they look and they go, oh, that's a stove. Their brain's perceptual construct is that of a stove. And so another person sitting beside them, you know, isolated in terms of sound, but they bring the object to the same place, and this person accurately identifies it as a refrigerator. That device, that, as they bring the object closer, for the person who believes that it was a stove, it's almost going to have to be on top of them before their perception will change, and they'll go, oh, that wasn't a stove, that's a refrigerator. So it's called premature cognitive commitment. If we have a commitment to something being the way we want it to be or the way we see it, it takes quite a chunk of energy to make that shift. And so if you find you're living in a world of I'm right, you're wrong, it's settled, why argue? You'll find that you're having a lot of arguments with people because chances are they live in the same world. And you might choose to give up your premature cognitive commitment and enter into conversations rather than from the point of view of I'm right, you're wrong, from the point of view of, well, let's investigate the facts. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's look, if we've got emotion around this, let's let go of the emotion. Let's just have a conversation about the facts of what happened. And when that occurs, people can move out of that place of, it's tough to change your mind once it's made up. So once a mind's reality is structured, the mind tends to see only in terms of its own contents and pre-programmed filters. It tends to place the meanings it contains onto anything similar to its past. And of course, there's a popular saying in the culture that says, to a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. And so I show Richard this line drawing, what everybody would say is a house. And so I ask Richard, what is this? He says, a house, of course. And my answer to him is, the truth is, it's just lines on paper. A man from the jungle who had lived in nothing but caves would not look at those lines and say, oh, that house has smoke coming out of the chimney. He does not have that meaning, that reality stored in his mind. He has no brain cells to contain that information. For him, there is no house in the lines on the page. House is a reality contained in and projected outward from the mind. That is the mind of the observer, and only an observer with a house in their past will call the lines on the page a house. Richard replied, you mean there's nothing out there? It's all in my mind? Richard seemed baffled. Well, no. The lines of the page are there. The external world exists. And for those who've worked with the Course in Miracles and have fallen into a trap that many people who work with the Course have fallen into, of believing that there is no world created by the Creator, that they created it all. And I've seen many people who've taken it on from other people who, read the Course and they go, oh, so there is no world except the one I created. Well, if you read the Course a little deeper, you'll hear the Course saying that the Creator, it says the Creator's words tells us that he loves the world, so it must not be the world you love. So the Course is telling us that there are two worlds. There's a capital W world, the actuality, what the Creator created, and then there's a reality, the reality in our minds where all of our projections, all of our insanity, hostility, and fear shows up. So we're saying very clearly, yes, there is a world created by the Creator. Now, is it internal or external? Well, that's going to be an interesting conversation, and it's going to depend on the definitions of your words. If you know you're living in an energy system, you know that the whole world is internal to you, that you're connected to all of it. If you listen to Einstein, he says if you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion. So our mind makes up all kinds of things, and the world that needs correction, the world that needs forgiveness, is the one between our ears, not the one the Creator created. So the Course invites us to forgive all false perception. If you go to the lesson on what is the world, the first words in that chapter are, the world is false perception. That's all. The lowercase lowercase-w world that we're looking to bring correction to, the world that generates all hostility and fear, is the one generated by our minds, the one between our ears, the ones that we think we see with our eyes, but really we're simply generating that visual picture in our brains. That's the world that we're interested in bringing correction to. So the lines of the page are there. The external world exists. The point I'm making is that until we become aware, the objective world is just a framework which triggers what we filed away in our minds. And then we'll leave it with this thought, and we'll start with it tomorrow, or pardon me, on Monday. Projection is a totally internal process and is a product of the mind using energies from the past, triggered into activity to build a reality, the brain's image of whatever it is that's triggered us. So we want to be really clear. Yes, there is a created world, and the one we think we see with our eyes isn't it. When I begin to let loose of that false world, the one between my ears, then I get to start to enter into and taste of the actual world as created by the Creator. And people will say, well, that sounds really interesting. Tell me about it. Well, if you went back even 2,000 years ago, this is exactly what Yeshua was teaching and talking to people about. To hear him say to people, oh, there are so many things I want to say to you, but you can't hear them. Well, what do you mean I can't hear them? If you speak it, my ears hear, I'm going to hear it. Well, yeah, there'll be a vibration come out of his mouth. Air molecules will move. Those air molecules will move the drum in the ear, and the drum in the ear moving will cause electrical frequencies to fire, but that's not hearing. That's simply the mechanical process of transferring energy. The hearing comes when the electrical pulses created by the moving of that drum resonate content in the mind. An interesting passage in that lesson, one of my favorites from the Course in Miracles, called What is the World? And that passage says that world, false perception, will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. So when you recognize that the perceptual world that you see is a product of your thoughts, it is not a result of the actual world as created by the Creator. And if our thoughts about the world as created by the Creator, or our thoughts about another person, are off base, then we will generate a perceptual construct we call reality, and we'll think we're actually looking at them rather than the product of our thoughts. So that world of hostility and fear will only remain in you as long as the thought that gave it birth is cherished by you. You know, people say, oh, yeah, well, I want to heal all of my hostility and fear. But then they proclaim how great their fear is. Well, you know, if I didn't have fear, I might put my hand in a fire and burn myself. Well, that's a pretty silly concept, but I've heard people say it. I don't put my hand in the fire because I know fire burns. I don't have to fear fire. But if I think I need my fear, or I think I need my rage, oh, yeah, I want to heal all my rage, but in case Charlie ever comes back, in case Bill ever comes and attacks me again, I want to be able to attack him back with that rage. So now that I'm still cherishing and valuing my rage, the rage can't be healed. The energetic pattern of rage, the thought disorders attached to it, cannot be removed as long as I say to that power within me that does the removal, this is important to me. See, we've got free will. So if we think our rage is going to be useful, then that power can't, even if we invite it to, can't let loose of that. But as this particular, and I think that's such a powerful line, it will remain no longer. The world of false perception, your projections, will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. So if I think that by disapproving of you and telling you how bad you are, that that's going to benefit me, and I hold on to that, then I'm going to keep doing that behavior until the cows come home. Even if I say I want to get rid of it, I've got to actually go to the root of my cherishing that thought, my finding that thought useful, and I'm going to have to forgive that, remove that. When I do that piece of work, everything changes. And we're here to change everything. We're here to open a space where we each get to function as true human beings, to function as the presence of love, to stand in the experience in our physiology of every cell being fueled by love, being connected to love. Now, if you filled your cellular structure, which is your mind, which you call your body, with thoughts of fear and rage and guilt and sadness and hatred and vengeance and drama and trauma, then your cellular structure is going to be fueled by hate and rage and drama, fear and, whatever energetic patterns are there are what fuel the cell. We hold the space for each person to get at least 1 minute of the experience of their cellular structure being fueled by the active presence of love. And then once you have that experience, to begin to build on that, to keep opening that, so that you realize that there's no reason to bring hostility or fear into your physiology unless you want to destroy it. Because they are the disintegrative energies that literally destroy our own cellular structure. I get the original of what I think I'm puking on them, and they only get a carbon copy. And they may not be home for delivery. What am I doing to myself? But you see, we can pretend that we're not doing it to ourselves. We're saying, look, he made me so mad. And because the mind is evidential, as our last lesson pointed out, because the mind is evidential, the mind will generate a picture where there's you and he, and you will see him make you mad. You'll really believe that that generated projection is true about him or her. So once it's formulated in the mind and you see it, then you actually pretend that what you're seeing is out there and that you're seeing accurately. That's called externalization. We live in a culture that generally teaches that projection is putting something outside of you that's inside of you. But that's not projection at all. Projection is the firing of brain cells that produces a picture in the mind, the world you see. Another great line in the Course. The world you see is born of error. It has not left its source. That's what proceeds. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. When you apply forgiveness, that world collapses in on itself. When you refuse to apply forgiveness and you believe that it's outside of you, then you take that projection and then you externalize that projection. And so what we're looking to do is to awaken to the truth of how this mind operates, how projection externalization work, and bring forward a deeper understanding and a whole cadre of tools that show us how to change, literally change the world that we see. And so we're honored that you're here to hear those words, and if it's a new thought, if you're new to the show, you might, after the show is over, want to go to our website, whyagain.org, and you'll see on the page, the home page, there's a microphone on the screen. If you click the microphone and drill down, it'll take you down to today's show. And you can download it. It's an MP3, it's free. You can download it and listen to it as often as you want. If there's somebody that you think really would like to hear this explanation, download it, put it in an email, attach it to an email, and send it to them. Or just take the link off of the page and put the link into an email or a text and send it and say, here, give a listen to this. Sure, extend it. Ultimately, what we're working to do is to bring this to every mind, heart, and being on the earth. So we're glad that you're here to be listening, hearing, amplifying the energy of this deeper Aramaic understanding of how the world works and bringing it to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. So, Miss Jeanie, I hear that Arya Rain has just awakened. And I wonder if we've got anybody with a hand up in the phone queue or anything happening in the chat room.
Let me unmute. Nobody has a hand up. And we have a couple people in the chat room, but no questions. And yes, she just woke up and she's getting out her stuff to draw.
Are you going to do some drawing, Arya Rain?
Yeah. All right. Oh, a hand just went up.
Well, let's say hello.
Area code 517. You're on the air.
Hello, all. This is John Martin. I know you haven't heard from me in a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. How are you, John?
I'm doing better. I'm glad you're still on air. I had trouble with my legs and I was half paralyzed, and I'm getting better. I'm going through therapy. They didn't know what happened, if it was a stroke or if it's neuropathy or whatever. But I talked to another friend that sends me her spirit and her power, like I get out of this radio show and like I know you guys have. I got two stories to tell. One's funny, and the other one's a spiritual awakening that I had Tuesday night.
Okay, well, share it with us. Tell us about it. Good to hear your voice.
Funny one first.
Okay.
This weekend was a nice weekend. So Saturday I walked, Sunday I walked, Monday I went to physical therapy. She beat the tar out of me, which is good. And
oh, really?
So I come home Tuesday, and I went for a walk, and I went to the same place that I went to on Saturday and Sunday, and I couldn't get back. So I dialed 911 and asked them if they could send a police car to pick me up, take me the rest of the way home. Well, it took a few minutes, and so I walked a little bit. And the next thing I know, there's this fire truck right next to me. The police were busy, so they sent a fire truck. And so they
oh, my goodness.
They helped me get up in the truck. It didn't have lights or siren or nothing. They just came to assist me.
Right.
I kind of blew it. I should have asked them to turn the lights and siren on when they were taking me home.
Just to make an announcement, eh?
Yeah. So anyway, when I was sitting in there, them firemen are all young men, and I'm in my 60s. And the guy looked at me and he says, I'd tell my father not to go so far from home. And that really struck home, like, man, am I that old? So
kind of got your attention, eh? Well,
yes,
that's pretty sweet, and our accolades, especially in the time of all this confusion and COVID revolution, all the crazy stuff going on in the country, to really tip our hats and send a thanks to the first responders all across the board, because they really do some awesome service in the world. So thank you to the first responders in the fire and the emergency services and police forces. I am a strong advocate for peace officers as opposed to police officers, but there certainly a lot of them do a lot of pretty awesome good. So gives us a chance to thank them. So thanks for telling us that story.
Yeah. Thank you for that too. I'll call them peace officers from now on. That's a good idea. The second one, I'm going to tell you the story, but I'm going to get kind of teary-eyed and choked up, so there might be a couple moments of silence or whatever.
Well, we'll be with you in breathing, sir. Go for it.
Remember how I talked before about how I went through most of my life not understanding love? Or not
Right.
feeling that I had love and not understanding and stuff. Well, in the 12-step program that I'm in, AA, it talks about finding a higher power of your understanding. Well, I found this higher power of my understanding. And, I've been in this program 30 years, and I used after 20 years, and then 10 years after that, I used a little bit more. So I was at an AA meeting Tuesday.
Right.
This was pretty profound for me. And it's at a church. And I went out to have a cigarette, a house stick. And I looked down on the ground, and there was a rock that sat there. That somebody painted "Love is God."
Oh,
and
wow. I never put that into my God of my understanding. And after all these years, it kind of hit me that that may be what I'm missing in my life. I have to do a worksheet on it yet. But I never thought of that as the God of my understanding. And so it really meant a lot to me, and it's kind of enlightened me. I'm just grateful that y'all have taught me how to do this. Well, it sounds like you've taken it to a whole other level, and I've got a funny story to share with you based in that. Several years ago at Heartland, we were teaching a Laws of Living class, and one of the things, and you've heard us talk about on the show before, is Rachma, this filter in the frontal lobes of the brain that is the gateway for love to come into our form. And so we've been talking about Rachma quite a bit in the class, and in that particular class is done a little differently than our other intensives. It uses the Socratic method of asking questions. And so one of the questions was, what's the name of this filter in the frontal lobes of the brain? We're doing a review. And one particular guy, it's his turn to answer. And he kind of sits there and he looks at me and he sits there and he's like, come on now, we've been talking about this for 2 days. You got it. What is it? And he's just like, he just could not, his brain just wouldn't go there. It was like he had a block. So I stepped outside. He's right near the front door of the Heart Center. I stepped outside and reached down, in Heartland, at Heartland in the Ozarks. I mean, the one thing we don't have to fertilize for to have them grow each year is rocks. It's loaded. So I stepped outside the door, grabbed a rock, came in and handed it to him. He goes, "Oh, yeah, Rachma." So it's kind of fun to hear this completing of the loop that you step outside and there's this rock that somebody's painted this piece of understanding on. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So I join you in having Rachma open. It's a good link to have Rachma open 24/7, 365, and have that flow of the God of your understanding literally through your physiology. It's our birthright. And unfortunately, the world, the way it's structured today, generally takes that birthright away from us. So delight to hear that in your 6th decade, you're allowing it to be restored. A lot of people never do. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes, thank you for that story. It sounds like I need to quit smoking, don't it?
Well, John, your body might be giving you a signal or two that might be a good idea. 500 different chemicals coursing through your veins, many of them extremely toxic, might be a good thing to get rid of in order to really get those legs cleared out and get them pumping. And, in Chinese medicine, the legs are talked about as a second heart, the muscles in your legs. And the pumping actions, for instance, when you walk, that's one of the reasons why walking can be so beneficial, because the pumping action of those muscles literally supports the heart and blood flow. So yeah, it might be time to do that. I'd certainly
I've been
support you.
praying about quit smoking. My sponsor told me to pray about it. And after I'm done with all this physical therapy, I'm going to buy some patches, and I'm going to give it a shot again. So with God's graces and y'all help, I'll quit.
And let me just ask you, you're going to do that after you get your physical therapy done, because
I don't want to try to do it while I'm doing physical therapy.
Oh, okay.
Just kind of a lot. I know that sounds stupid, but I should do it before my physical therapy, but
one of the things that there is in cigarette smoke is carbon monoxide, and it shuts down sensitivity, awareness, and flow throughout the whole structure. If you remove the carbon dioxide, you might find your physical therapy goes a whole lot easier.
Okay, I'll
just
give that some deep thought.
Just a thought. Yeah.
That sounds dang right.
Well, it's like, and the carbon monoxide is just one thing, but there are literally in today's tobacco, I mean, there's everything from sugar to, in some cases, they've actually put cocaine into cigarettes, and it's just anything to get people and keep people addicted.
Okay.
So it's I understand that it's a tough drug, and I'll certainly hold the space of it, and you can ask for guidance too. And you might find it upgrades your whole therapy to be much more effective and to go much more rapidly.
Okay, I'll tell you what. On the 17th, when I get paid my Social Security, instead of buying cigarettes, I'll go out and buy some patches, and then I'll call you back and let you know how it's going. How's that?
Sweet. I'd love to hear from you, John. I'd love to be kept informed. Thank you.
That's a commitment.
Okay. I'll hold the space for it.
All right. Thank you.
Sweet. All right. We appreciate you. And to you, my brother. Take care.
Thank you for giving me a place to share.
Well, we're honored and delighted that you've picked up the work, that you're using it. It's just, it's our reason for being. And so right now I've got chill bumps down my back and down my arms as I think about, our early conversations when you first came to the show and where you're living today. It's so awesome to be able to be part of that. So thank you for the opportunity. Touches my heart.
Blessing.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye. I'll breathe on
that
that one.
Another column. Yeah.
Great.
Area code 760. You're on the air.
Hey there. This is Ann. And John, I hope you're still on. I just want to support what Michael just said, and I'm going to hold you in a space of love for you to do it in the order that Michael suggested, because I just want to share some facts. My husband passed away about 1.5 years ago, and he had a lot of things going on in his system, but he had 11 stents in him, and 3 of them were in his legs, 2 in one leg and 1 in the other. And when he had those stents in his legs, the doctor said it was typical of smokers. And so those were blockages, or started to be blockages, of course. So, Michael, you're just right on. And so I just want to be there to support John in following through with his commitment. Blessings.
Yay. Well, this is the beauty of community. In the Aramaic, when the Greeks translated the words into the kingdom of heaven, they were speaking of the community of love. And I hear the space you're holding for John, and I join you in it. And it's pretty awesome to have you in the community. Thank you.
Yes. And I need to do a wake-up sheet on that because I thought I was done with that part. But thank you.
Moving a little bit of emotional energy for you?
Yeah, because he stopped. He'd smoked for 45 years, but when he stopped, it still wasn't soon enough. So that also causes the COPD and the emphysema. It just causes so many other things. So, but the walking was an issue because, you know, of the years that he smoked. So anyway, I'll do that.
And the beauty that we can recover, that especially, John, with the insight you just had of bringing that love in, that will take your physiological recovery to a whole other level. Remember, our definition of life is it is love moving through a cell. And we do things that are unloving to our forms. We restrict that moving of love through our cellular structure, and that creates disease and disorder. So hold the space for you to open it back up, and for whatever processing needs to happen for you, I'll hold the space for you to let loose of the emotion that just surfaced. And thank you for the input, Anne. Appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you. And what I just got, which will be part of the sheet, is that I went, part of going through that experience with my husband is so that I could share that. Because even strangers that I see that I wouldn't say anything to, and people that I know I do say something to, is I just encourage them with that. But this is like, okay, so this is what I have to give back to carry on his legacy, my husband's legacy. So I appreciate that insight as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Honored and delighted, young lady. You have moved so far in the, your first intensive was maybe 6 years ago?
Sorry, I had muted them.
Yeah, actually, it was Jeanie in 2013, I think, and then I did some heavy duty ones after that.
You were at my very first women's intensive in Florida.
Yes.
Pompano Beach. Yay.
Yep. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm starting to get the benefits more and more, and for me, I have been resistant to putting the pen to paper, but it's starting to get easier, and just again, like he said, the community and having the accountability partner, and just it all works.
Sweet.
And it's just because of that energy of love coming forth. So.
Awesome. All right, young lady. Well, you have a blessed one.
Thank you.
Anything else on your mind before we go?
Actually, I had a note in my radio show book here about, do you still have contact with, or if Jeanie has this somewhere, about the lady who did conscious parenting?
Yes, certainly. I'll send you a link. I'll get one of her emails and send it to you. That's a woman in St. Louis, Missouri. She's been doing this work for the last 25 years and really moved it into the conscious parenting class. They have she and her husband have a center called the Brentwood Center of Health. And so I will get her contact. I'll send you one of her newsletters. Her name is Susan McDonald. Actually, it's now Susan Tucker. When I first started work with her, it was Susan McDonald. And so I'll get that to you for sure.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
that's
lots
it.
of
Thank you.
All righty, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bringing up Susan brings to mind her sharing on the show. And to me, this is just one of the most powerful and profound experiences one can have in regard to children. And that was, she had a woman in one of her classes that shared with her that she had stopped hitting her child, stopped abusing her child. And the reason that she did that was that her son, who was, if I remember correctly, was about 5, was sent out to get a switch with which to be beaten. And he came back in the house without the switch. And he explained to his mother, Mom, I couldn't reach any branches on the trees. And so here, and he opens his hand and drops a couple of rocks into her hand and says, here, Mom, you can throw these at me, because he couldn't reach a branch to be beaten with. Two things that really strike me from that. One is it shocks me that a parent could, and how often, when I mention this, a child being sent out to get a switch, that's a family tradition. And I mean, hundreds of people, when I've shared this in audiences, hundreds of people, that's what they did. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. And then to realize, and I've run into people over the years who, they didn't ever spare the rod with me and it never hurt me any. It's like, what a lie. If you only knew. If you could only go back to the first moment, and maybe it wasn't even being hit. Maybe it was just a tone of voice that was turned on you. Maybe it was just the energy of anger that was turned on you. If you could go back to that first moment when, as a functioning human being, as a small person functioning as love, if you go back to the first moment where that abuse energy was turned toward you, the pain is horrendous. And, it's kind of like, this is the punishment planet, and it's time for us to let go of this thing, that punishment's going to benefit anybody in any way, shape, or form. We've talked about it often. The word discipline comes from the word disciple. Disciple means properly taught, not properly beat up. Our culture has a cheap copy of disciple, of disciplining a child, and that is we beat them into submission. And that's a family tradition for so many people. Others, we verbally abuse them into submission. Others, we disapprove of them to put them into submission. But it all has the objective of destroying the child's awareness of self. This is the unconscious part of it, of destroying the child's awareness of self and becoming obedient to the goals of the person who has the power in their hands. It's all part of the power person dynamic from our codependence work. So I breathe with you, if that brings anything up for you, and to recognize that, individually and collectively, we can soften our own energy fields and let loose of that energy of punishment. We need to free the earth from punishment. And I've had people who say, well, that all sounds well and good, but does that mean you're going to let everybody out of prison? I didn't say that. There are people who are a danger to the community, and it is reasonable to put them behind bars. So, but that doesn't mean they need to be punished. They can be nurtured and cared for and given healing tools. And when that happens, we've done it. We've gone into the jails. We've gone into the prison. We cut recidivism by over 90% until the sheriff in this one particular jail got rid of the program because he didn't have anybody to sleep in his cells, and he didn't get paid by the state his per diem rate because he had no customers. Think of your sheriff as a business. If he doesn't have anybody filling those jail cells, think of your local prosecutor as a business. If he doesn't have somebody to take before the judge, think of the judge. If he doesn't have somebody standing before him accused of a crime, They have no money. They have no income. What do you suppose their incentive is to end crime? And they know that punishment perpetrates crime. Time for a wake-up. It's just all around. It's time for a wake-up. What if we eradicated punishment? And yes, people who are a danger to the community get put behind bars, and they get supported and taken care of. Wow. What a shift that's going to make. And it's time for us to make that shift. Time to awaken. We are human beings, and it's only when we are functioning as human beings, as love, that human life is even present in the space. So delighted that you're here to be part of the show. And Miss Jeanie, we've got about 14 minutes or so left, so we've got time for another good conversation or two. Do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No hand up, and we're actually down to 11 minutes. Conversation in the chat room. Lightness says she thinks she has an abscess on one side of her mouth, and
ouch.
The first time her face is swollen really big. She's putting ice on it, and she said maybe she needs a mind shifter. She really doesn't want to take antibiotics. She would like to take care of it naturally. She's been taking garlic and oregano gels. Do you have any, and also Manuka honey. Do you have any other suggestions or a mind shifter for her?
Well, a mind shifter that I'd offer would be, I'm now willing and open. I'm now willing and open to find the deepest guidance possible in healing what's happening with my teeth. And, the teeth are such an important part of this whole energy system. And infections in the teeth can be really a challenge to the brain, to the heart. And so, I understand not wanting to do antibiotics, but if you're not making some pretty swift headway with the natural means that you're using, it might be wisdom to take an antibiotic that can help to knock that out, and then do the work that it takes to rebuild your microbiome, to rebuild your probiotic population within your structure, and to perhaps look at, what kind of things are going on that you're having that kind of challenge with your teeth. This is something you're not wanting to say, something you're not wanting to deal with in your life. So they'd be the directions I'd be going. And if you do end up with an antibiotic, as I say, repopulate, because antibio means anti-life, and the DNA within our structure is a much larger percentage of these microorganisms, and there is DNA that's actually human in us. And we need those microorganisms. But if we've fallen out of balance, there is that tool that, as rarely as possible, but occasionally becomes a necessity. So I just offer that if it starts to get out of hand, I'd jump on an antibiotic if I were you. It can be really important to the whole health of your structure. That'd be my thoughts in that regard. Listen to your guidance and hold safety and clearing up of whatever's going on there.
And Bob in the chat room said, asked if she had tried MMS. And then Lightness asked, do you suggest she wait no more than 3 days?
Well, I don't know how long it's been going on now. If your jaw is swelling up, I assume it's been going on for some time period. And if you're not getting that under control with the oregano oil and such, MMS is very powerful. You can get your hands on some quickly. Otherwise, I would be contacting an MD to get a script to clean it up, especially if it's your upper jaw.
And Bob had also commented earlier, this didn't have anything to do with Kathy, but said hurt people, and they need healing, not punishment. We're all victims of victims, and if you don't hand it back, you pass it on. Yeah.
That's it. I'm with you 100% on that one, Bob. Good way to say it.
And then she asked, what is MMS?
MMS is a chemical formula. It's been years since I've looked at it, and I really probably just jump online and put it in a search engine. But it's a powerful antibiotic that's more naturally oriented. I remember one year we were out in California with a friend of ours, and we were doing. He's a manufacturer, and we were doing some of his just as a detox of he carried a product, MMS. And it's something you start out with very small amounts and work your way up. And Jeanie and I worked our ways up to, I don't remember now, it was maybe something like 10 drops. And we ran out of the bottle, so we got another bottle from him and used it. And he hadn't, and we hadn't realized that the old bottle was an old bottle that had lost a lot of its potency. So we had worked up to 10 drops. And we're able to handle that. And we started out, do you remember that, Jeanie? And we took 10 drops
we were
of
both,
this new fresh stock. We were on the floor. I mean, it just wiped us both out.
It was like coming out of both ends.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty intense experience. But it's a powerful cleanser. And I'm not sure, I don't know whether health food stores carry it these days or not.
I just put a link to it too. It's actually the Wikipedia description of it. It's Miracle Mineral Supplement, also called MMS, and talks about what's in it and how to use it and things like that.
Powerful stuff. And holding your jaw in our hearts, holding it in love, and your guidance system to lead you in the right direction to get that cleared out of your body. So, Miss Jeanie, down to about 4 minutes.
And Bob put in the chat room, it's sodium chloride, and told her to search for Jim Humble MMS, and said most of his videos have been banned, but Bob has copies of all of his work, so I can connect the two of them together too.
Maybe you could send us a link, Bob, and we can put it in the notes so it's available to everybody. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like competition. Yeah. So the last 3 or 4 minutes, anybody out there with a question? Something on your mind? Jeanie, do you have anything? You know, we had a pretty powerful sharing with Susan and Julie yesterday around some of the guidance you've gotten in your opening. Anything else to share, to add to that?
No, I don't have anything right now. Susan's still on board. I'm going to turn her microphone on and see if any other insight came to her.
Yeah, and I'll add, you know, there was a conversation about, you know, exactly how to do these scales vocally for yourself. And I did some searching, and if you put learning scale tones into YouTube University, into YouTube, you'll get lots of different guidance from different musicians to learn to do those scales. But Susan, do you have any thoughts for us, young lady?
No, I don't. Did you have any more, Jeanie, on the what the measures meant and everything?
No, just I'm actually editing out the part of our conversation so that I can re-listen to it because there was so much information and it definitely resonated. I mean, like I had said, I felt chills going up my arms and legs, and so I knew that it was on target.
Mhm. Wow, that's great.
It is. So how are you, young lady? Anything exciting happening in your world?
No, things are quite quiet. My son and his family are going to go away all of next week, and I think I need to do a worksheet on that. I know we don't miss them. On the other hand, I'm tempted to.
That may be a structure still hanging around in your mind.
Right. Yeah, I'm very glad that they're going to get a rest. Okay, I'm glad they're getting a rest. Really getting away from the whole chaotic thing.
Well, I hope wherever they're going is a nurturing place for them.
It's warmer. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere south. And they're going with they're actually going just with their family and not with friends. That's going to be quite quiet, yeah. So, yeah, the only thought that comes to me is I have so many worksheets to do because as I do them, more and more and more need doing. And
I understand.
You do, and I think maybe, Vivekananda, the great Hindu saint, said, he's like a bodhisattva. He said, I will not merge with God until every soul, that's what you're doing, every soul is merged with God or enlightened or saved or whatever, the word you want to. And I'm thinking, that's going to take an awfully long time. And then the Course in Miracles says, what is it, the world doesn't last but a moment. Something like that. Yeah, I'm having brain challenges.
All the conflicting concepts that the mind can come up with. But.
Yep. So I didn't have anything specific though today. But Jeanie, are your feet back down on the ground?
Yeah, they are. Ready for the next wave or the next measure.
Yep, next measure. All right.
All right, young lady. Well, we are holding you in our hearts and your son and his family, that he's getting resolution in his world and the kids as well. And we'll just invite everybody to join us in creating the best year yet of our eternal lives. It's an awesome gift to give the world, one we deserve, one the world needs desperately.